In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Darth Vader for the Black Series 3 3/4 line. So this one had two releases in the Black Series line. It was actually figure number 26 towards the very end of the orange and black package. And then it also had a re-release in the blue TIE Fighter packaging. And I believe that one was figure number 3. The one you're looking at here is the very first release in the orange and black package. This one has a reputation as being one of the best Vaders that Hasbro's ever made, and up until the recent Dark Times Vader, it was considered the best Vader. And I would agree with that, except for one caveat, and that is that if you're like me and had the very first release, unfortunately the head does not sit very well on the body, and I'll show exactly what the problem with that is a little bit later in the video. But if you have the second release, from my understanding, Hasbro did fix that at the time. I have seen the second release in stores before, but I figured it had the same problems as this one, so I never got it at the time. But I was looking on eBay recently, and the prices on both releases of the action figures have actually come down a lot from last several times I've checked on it. I know for the longest time it was way up in the hundreds even. But now it seems like it's more in the $25 or $30 range. So I guess maybe the release of the Dark Times Vader kind of killed a lot of that momentum, or ended a lot of that momentum, I should say. But it seems to be fairly affordable now, so perhaps in the future here I'll go ahead and get that just to correct this. I do think it might be possible to modify the head a little bit. I think the problem with it is it's just simply the hole in the head itself is not deep enough to accommodate, and if you take the cape off, it fits a lot better. So obviously this extra layer is what is hindering it the most. But with that aside, it's a very good Darth Vader, probably one of the best sculpts Hasbro has made, and it's a shame that it has not had a release in TVC at all. This appearance of Vader is based on Revenge of the Sith, and we don't have a Revenge of the Sith Darth Vader in the line yet, or at least a suited Vader. We have the pre-suit Vader, which was VC-13, I think. But even as is with this action figure, I still think it'd be a good release for TVC. I don't think too many people really complain about a straight repack of this. And there's really not a huge upgrade in the sculpt from the Dark Times Vader to this one. In fact, I'll just bring it out right now. As you can see, it looked pretty good and pretty close side by side. Of course, there are some differences, like in the shoulder armor here, and of course, this one has the swivel thigh, I think, yeah. While this did not, but they do both have rocker ankles, which at the time of 2013, this was a very innovative feature that we didn't see on too many figures. So that's pretty good. I'll just put him back there for now. So one more thing I'll mention is how I actually acquired this. So I did get this back in 2013, 2014, and I saw it at Walmart at the time. And I went to the price scanner actually, and I saw it was down for $5 for all the Black Series figures, so I knew I instantly had to get this, and I wanted it anyway, price aside. I saw a review of it on Sith Lord 229's channel back in the day, and when I watched the review, I knew instantly, yes, I have to get that Vader. And it was shortly after that I did find it. And at the time I got this Vader, I actually got Rees to go along with him, so I got both Rees and this Vader together for like $10 at Walmart, which was incredible. Basically, it was a 2-in-1 at the time. And then now you look at it, it's like, wow, 2 Star Wars action figures of premium quality for $10. Not really something you see these days unless it's like a really deep clearance item and one that nobody really wants. So that's my little backstory for it. I think it was towards the end of 13 or 14. I think it may have been like spring of 14, actually, maybe March, if I recall correctly. So we'll just go ahead and take a look at this guy a little closer. I do have a little bit of a spot on mine, so the silver paint around his respirator there is it's a little off, as you can see. And it's kind of hard to see, but it's almost painted more downward instead of even with the other one. If you look at it from certain angles, it doesn't look like it's really there at all. It was like that when I bought it, though. So for the head or the helmet sculpt, it's spot on. It's perfect. Can't get much better than that. I would argue in some ways it's even better than the Dark Times Vader here. At least around the eyes, that is. But they both look really good. Has that nice glossy finish as well. Then we have his armor here, which is shoulder armor is a part of his arm. It's not like this Vader here where it's kind of flexible and attached to his torso instead. Well, it does have enough mobility in it to where it's no problem. He has his inner robes here that are plastic. It's just the skirt itself and the actual cape that are the soft goods. It's all just plastic. And he has his codpiece there, which I would say is probably a lot more noticeable compared to other Vaders we've gotten. And he has the detailing on his control panels there. It's pretty good. It's all pretty much a glossy finish. And we have his boots here, which look pretty good as well. So in terms of the articulation, or actually before we get into the articulation, there he does have his chain, but this time something unique about it is it's actually sculpted onto his armor there. Not something we see with most Vaders. It's usually a loose chain or none at all, like that one. And then this one here. So something unique. Now, for the articulation, he does have a ball joint ahead, but again, it's a little bit of a problem with that, and we'll get to that here in a second. He does have a hinge at the shoulders, hinged elbows, and he has hinged wrists, which at the time was kind of a big deal, because I don't think most of the Vaders really had hinged wrists. He does have a hinge at the torso, and he does have hinged hips, which again, kind of a big deal at the time. And he does have hinged knees and the rocker ankles, which again was another big deal at the time. So this Vader had a lot of innovative features about it. Weapons and accessories, pretty standard, but Hasbro did go out of their way to make a brand new Darth Vader lightsaber at the time. And I think that hilt is one of the more accurate ones we've gotten, which looks pretty good. There's a lot more black in it, and a lot thicker hilt. Nice red blade. And he also did come with an unignited hilt. Unfortunately, there's not a spot where you can plug it in on his belt. And there's not a hole on his belt or anything like that. So all he can really do is just hold this. But at least Hasbro gave something. Better than nothing. This was a step closer than what we normally would get with Vader at the time. And that's pretty much all you can do with him. So now to get to the one effect about him. So if I rotate this head, you'll see that just pops off like nothing. And I'm pretty sure that's because the hole there is just plain not deep enough. And there's his cape right there. I think if you do some modifications with this, you'll be able to get it. And maybe this peg here is just plain not big enough. Like I said, if you take the cape off, can put the head on, and if you can feel it click into place, and it stays there. I haven't had any problems in this case. Of course, Vader doesn't really look right without his cape. I guess if you were having him sit down in his meditation chamber, this would be handy to have. So I suppose you could modify the cape, and I have considered doing it before, but I'm just not sure how to go about it yet. Maybe at some point someday I'll go ahead and do it. But it's definitely a fixable thing. And like I said, if you have the second release in the TIE Fighter package, this allegedly was fixed. So it's just something wrong with the first release. I have seen videos years ago where people were popping the head off, and even the waist here was coming apart very easily. I haven't had that problem with mine, and I think some people may have done that in their videos, kind of like a comic effect to emphasize the problem with the head here, but I'm not sure. I haven't had that problem with mine. So if you see videos before where people are basically taking this whole thing apart, that may or may not be true necessarily. Like I said, it hasn't been a problem for me, so who knows. But as long as you're just displaying this Vader and you're not really rotating his head around, it hasn't really been a problem for me. Yeah, it'll stay in there, you just can't really rotate it. But you can get some nice poses out of this guy. And I'll just do the one that I usually have him displayed as. Kind of similar to, I think, one that we've seen on a Revenge of the Sith poster before. You can hold his lightsaber with two hands. It's kind of where he's in that lunging position. Looks pretty good. Ah. And of course his head popped off. Something like that, I guess. And we'll bring this third one out here. And this Vader will be coming next, actually. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about him and all the components about him. So would I recommend this Vader free collection? I totally would. I would suggest getting the second release though, and if you're finding one loose on eBay, make sure you confirm with the seller which release it is, or if they don't know specifically, ask them, does the head pop off easily, and that'll be your indication as to which one it is. I'm happy I have this one still, and like I said, as long as you're careful with him and you're not too rough with him, then the head usually stays on. I've never had it pop off on random, or I've never had it pop off at random for me, so And I usually have this displayed, and I've never really done a whole lot else with him, so it's stayed in place all right. Like I said, the prices are getting a lot more reasonable for him now compared to what they used to be. And it's still one of the best Darth Vaders made to date. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There'll always be lots more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It was greatly appreciate all your support. Check out some links in the description if you have not done so already. And as always, thanks for watching.